Hi guys, Stefan here again. I realized the other day that I had not done a pickups video since January, right after the holidays. And in the past 5 months, we've actually had some pretty decent pickups from Goodwill. One of the Christmas gifts we got was a gift card to Goodwill, so that really was amazing. It's incredible what you can find and get at Goodwill just with like a gift card with how cheap everything is, and particularly because the one near us, we always go into the bargain room where they just have bins of stuff that's usually dirty and broken, but there are always like hidden treasures in there. So we've had a lot of luck, and I decided to do, I'm just going to do a pickups video, pick out a lot of the majority, actually, the stuff that we got between January and May that I thought you guys might be interested in. And we'll start off with one of the coolest finds, because anything Laserdisc related is automatically awesome, and we got Beauty and the Beast on Laserdisc. So that was a pretty nice find, and this again was one that was in the bargain room, so it ended up being less than $1 because it's mostly by weight for most things in there. And I got a couple of records. When I was out with my mom, she took me out one day for a whole day of thrift store shopping, places I don't normally go. I got Judy Garland's That's Entertainment. So that was That's Entertainment. I had a whole series of stuff with different artists, and this is one with Judy Garland, so I picked that up. Judy Garland is one person that I get a lot of stuff for. Her and Peter Sellers, I'll get just about anything I see related to them. I did get Billy Joel, Street Life Serenade. So I got that. That was another really cheap find that was interesting. And I think about the same time I got these last three all together for in a pack, and it was Walt Disney's Mary Poppins is the original movie soundtrack, and I think it's on 2. Yeah, it's on 2. It has a big fold out thing here. So not in the best shape, but for less than $1, I mean, might as well go for it. And same thing with My Fair Lady. And we also got, I just decided to pick this up. I thought it was funny. I'm a big Muppets fan, and I also grew up with watching Sesame Street a lot. It was one of my favorite kid shows growing up. So it's Sesame Disco. So Sesame Street, like a disco album. So I just thought that was kind of a funny, interesting thing to pick up. And I did show at one point along the way, one of the big finds we found, we usually get a lot of books in the bargain room. And I think they're 25 cents a piece or something like that. I mean, just crazy. And one day we found in just one bin, we just kept digging and pulling them out, a whole collection of Shadowrun books. So I did show these in a previous video. We got that. And that's only half of them. We got all that, all in one shot, all in one bargain room bin. Just a ton of Shadowrun books, and you never know where you're going to find. Sometimes you'll find great stuff like that, where someone just handed in a collection and just ended up in that bin there. We got a few other book pickups. One Nintendo Adventure book with Mario and Luigi, and this is, I think they're like those old Choose Your Own Adventure books, something like that. Nintendo had a small series of those. I think Zelda and a couple other ones were in that. Clifford. And one of the actual Choose Your Own Adventure books. This is one of the thin, like the kids series, rather than the smaller, like the ones that typically have a white background from the 80s. We found some manga. One I never heard of, Beat the Vandal Buster. Never heard of this series. It's volume 3. That, if you know about this series, let me know below. I haven't read it yet, but yeah, never heard of that. But it was an interesting find there. A couple other kind of kids stuff here. We found Bridge to Terabithia, and this is an older print. It's a really good kids book. I've never seen, there was a more recent movie that I saw. I've never actually read the book. My wife read it a long time ago. I'd like to read it. The one I saw was, there was a BBC, like early 90s, I think they did one, around the same time they did the Narnia BBC stuff, so that was pretty good. I remember it from that. We also got the BFG, rather appropriate since there's a new movie coming out, and I'm not sure about that one yet. That's definitely going to be more of a Netflix thing than a going to the theaters thing, because I don't know exactly if I like the look of it. It might be pretty interesting to check out, but I'm not paying like $11-12 to see it. Another Stargate book to add to the collection. Parts 1 and 2 of a series that my wife really likes. Most stuff published by Firebird Fantasy, so anything by that publisher we tend to pick up because she likes to read those. They tend to write things that are more in the vein of things that she likes. Some more manga here. Chibi Vampire. This one's actually a novelization though, not a manga. It's based off the manga series. So that was an interesting find there. A manga of Avatar: The Last Airbender. novelization of the X-Files. And Tomb Raider, this is a novelization of the first movie, which actually this, I did go end up reading it, and it actually is better than the movie. A lot of times, the book tends to be better than the movie if the book came first, but I frequently find that if the movie comes first, the book tends to not be that great. But this is definitely an exception. They added a decent amount of detail to the story that I think really worked in its favor. A couple of Star Trek books, because you never get to have enough Star Trek, but we got Next Generation IQ. I've not read this one yet. And some more Dragonlance. And this one used to be one of my favorites I remember reading back in the day. I don't remember too much about it, but I remember liking it for some reason. A lot of the Chaos Wars series stuff I ended up enjoying. And a really interesting find, The Muppets Take Manhattan. It's one of those old record and storybook sets. So I love the Muppets, so I pick up pretty much anything Muppet related. And my wife found this, and I put it back, and then she grabbed it, and she says it's really funny. It's something definitely more towards her sense of humor, but Playboy science fiction. So, the fully automated love life. So, there we go. Interesting find there. And a piece of nostalgia, one thing I almost never get from Goodwill: puzzles and board games. Because if you can't verify right then and there that it has absolutely every piece, which it most likely doesn't, to me it's just not worth getting. I'm not going to get all this incomplete stuff, but this I had to grab, and it looked like it was 100% complete, and I'm pretty sure it is, because I remember I used to have that Ninja Turtles the Pizza Power game. So that's a pretty nice piece of 80s nostalgia from my childhood. And I think at that same Goodwill I also found two interesting just plastic cups, but they are old Blockbuster cups, both from 91. You have Hook and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, so those are kind of a cool nostalgic find. Nothing too awesome, but those are both movies that we really like from a time period we really like, so a good find. And the last thing on the book front, for my birthday, my wife got me Persona 4 Volume 2. I just did a review of Volume 1 recently, and I'll have to do that for this one. But I only have that. And I've been waiting and wanting to get, but haven't picked up, so my wife got it for me. You're Never Weird on the Internet, almost. Felicia Day's autobiography, and it's a really good read. I just finished reading that a couple days ago. It's actually very entertaining, a lot of fun, and it's pretty insightful if you're a fan of Felicia Day at all, or even just a fan of the Guild itself. It's a good book that I think a lot of people that enjoy her stuff can relate to. And one I haven't started yet and I'm really looking forward to, though. As I said before, my favorite actor of all time is Peter Sellers, and for some reason I've never read a biography about him. I've watched, there was a BBC one, and there's another short biography about him, and I watched those. I don't know why I've never read a biography about him, just one of those things that never happened. But this is supposed to be one of the best ones, Dr. Strangelove, and it's not about the movie, obviously, but it's a biography about him. So I definitely want to go ahead and read this one. I just need to have the time to settle down and work on that, but I'm really excited to go ahead and read that. I know a lot about the background of the actor, but I hope to learn something new and get a new perspective, and it should be a lot of fun. On the video game front, we actually didn't find a whole lot these past 4 or 5 months. We found a couple things for trade-in or resell, things that we either already had or found really cheap that we didn't want. We knew we could trade in to get some stuff that we would like, but one thing we did find, I found complete with a manual and everything, Risk for the Sega Genesis. Risk is a game I enjoy, and I really like the PS2 iteration of it, but I haven't played the Genesis one. I'm pretty excited to check that out. I'll have to play it with my brother. He enjoys playing the PS2 one with me. And a really cool nostalgic find, something I completely forgot existed that I know I had when I was a kid, because I had just about everything from Hercules' Legendary Journeys, one of those old Tiger Electronics, the really crappy handheld games, but this was just a really nostalgic find. It works perfectly fine. It was like $2 or something like that, so I had to go ahead and grab it. If you're a fan of Hercules, this was just kind of a cool nostalgic thing. And probably the best gaming find we've had so far this year, my wife stumbled upon, thankfully, because I walked right past it, didn't see it, it was behind other stuff in the case, and my wife happened to see part of the lettering, and she recognized the blue and the lettering, and it's like, that's something Sega. Pulled it out, and it was a Game Gear, complete in the carrying case. So that was a ridiculously good find. Got the Game Gear. I do need to replace the capacitors in it. The sound seems to work fine, but I don't know, visually things aren't quite there. It needs a little bit of tune-up. I have to go ahead and do that, but otherwise it seems to be in really good condition, and it came with Sonic the Hedgehog, was slapped in the back there. So that was a really cool find, and it had the rechargeable battery pack, which these can be hard to find for a decent price. I mean, for what they are, just a rechargeable battery pack, and it's a really good thing, just because of how much the Game Gear is a complete battery whore. I mean, unbelievable. So I'll use that or leave it plugged in while playing it, but really cool find because I'd never owned a Game Gear before. Excited to start collecting more for it, and really cool system. I just have to fix it up a bit before we use it. Now, what kind of 80s, 90s kids would we be if we didn't pick up VHS every once in a while? We found Puff the Magic Dragon on VHS, and this is an old movie that I really like, My Favorite Wife, so this is a good one here. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, and 2 volumes of Dirty Pair 2, and a volume of Dirty Pair Flash Mission 2. So those are pretty cool finds, an anime I've not seen in a very long time. And 2 completely sealed box sets of South Park from the first season of the show, and I'll probably end up opening them. They do have some kind of cool old style Comedy Central, like Blockbuster like stickers and stuff on them, and I own it on DVD, so that's why I haven't opened them up yet. Undecided, but I'll probably end up opening them. A Muppet Family Christmas, and another Christmas themed one, a Bewitched Christmas, which I really like Bewitched. It's a great show. My wife can't stand it, but I really like it, and I do like that it's not an original production, it's just 2 Christmas themed episodes put on the VHS, but I do like how one of the episodes is from season 1. It's the black and white version, because you almost never see that. It was recolorized for reruns and things, the first season, which was originally in black and white before it moved to color, and you never see it in black and white, so it's kind of cool to see that. We also picked up Pete's Dragon and the big old style white clamshell cases there. This is a great kids movie, and an animated classic. Not really, it's pretty terrible, but Xena and Hercules, The Battle for Mount Olympus. And it's a must-have if you're a fan of Xena and Hercules, but it's actually pretty horrendous. The animation is so subpar for the time that came out, and everything from the storyline to the script, everything is just bad, but it's a cool piece of Xena and Hercules nostalgia to get. And the last piece of VHS, one of my favorite kids movies, one that's completely underappreciated, Return to Oz. Return to Oz is fantastic. It's a great, somewhat dark kids movie that I think completely failed because the majority of people really only know Oz as the Judy Garland movie. Most people don't know about the earlier iterations or of the earlier versions of like stage plays, not going into Wicked and things like that. But most people only think about that, and many people I've talked to have never read any of the books. They've only seen that movie. And I think when this came out in the early 90s, I forget what year it was, I think it failed because a lot of people going in and only knowing that this didn't fit this at all. This is truer to the tone of the children's books, and is really it's a fusion of 2 different volumes of the Wizard of Oz, not the Wizard of Oz, about the Oz series put together, and in a really great movie, really great style. It reminds me, stylistically, it has a lot of vibes of something like Labyrinth or The Dark Crystal. It's much truer to the tone of the book, so it's a fantastic kids movie and a great, somewhat dark kids movie. And the last category of pickups is DVDs, and we got the 2-disc collector's edition of Azumi, which is a pretty good movie if you haven't seen it. An animated classic, one that I really like. The Jetsons meet the Flintstones. I really like the Flintstones. Not as big of a fan of the Jetsons for some reason. I don't know, something about I didn't like 70s Hanna-Barbera as much as 60s or 80s. Something about the 70s tone I didn't like quite as much, but this is a great animated classic if you like older Hanna-Barbera type stuff. Season 4 of Seinfeld, because again, can't be a 80s, 90s kid without picking up some Seinfeld. The live-action movie of Space Battleship Yamato, and this is fantastic. I absolutely love this. This was much better than I expected it to be. I really enjoy the anime and the manga, and I've never seen this, and this is it's wonderful. The special effects are great. It really does a good job of handling the portion of the storyline it takes and putting it into a single movie form. It's wonderfully acted. It's just a really good movie. I really enjoyed it. A lot of fun. If you've never even heard of it and you just kind of like sci-fi, pick it up. It's just a great sci-fi. And speaking of sci-fi, we also found Ultraman, the complete series, the first series of Ultraman. So that was a kind of a pretty interesting to find right there. I actually didn't realize that this series of Ultraman was in English. I know it had aired at one point in the US, but I didn't realize we actually got a DVD release of it, so that was pretty cool. I didn't know that was out there. And the last one is a kind of a funny one, Euro Trip on DVD. And this one was, it's such a just ridiculous, stupid, teenager summer comedy, but I had to get it because my wife would always tell stories of, we live in Pennsylvania, and if you know about Pennsylvania, there's huge areas that are just full of Amish. You go to Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, Amish country. A lot of people come down, a lot of tourism, and one thing that the Amish do is Rumspringa, and that's when kids, teenagers going into adulthood have a period of time where they can basically leave and explore a lot of the things that the outside world have to offer, and decide if they want to leave the community or return to the church, which most of them tend to do. And during that time period, my wife was working for a long time at a Target that is right inside the heart of a lot of the Amish tourism centers, and it's not that far from us. And she would get all the time these teenage Amish boys coming in and at Target, and they would always buy Euro Trip, always, for years, over and over again, Euro Trip. And she could never figure out why, and it was so funny. They didn't get other stuff. It wasn't, even after this movie was starting to get a little bit older, it was always a Euro Trip they always picked up. I feel like at some point, some kid during Rumspringa picked up Euro Trip and went back and just like talked about it to all the younger kids, and just like build it up as like, this is like the gateway movie to experiencing the outside world, is Euro Trip for some reason. So around here, Euro Trip is one of the biggest hits with Amish teenagers, and despite that, my wife had never seen it, so I'm like, wow, we saw it, I'm like, we have to get this, we have to see it, and we had just all that story and experience with these Amish kids. You can't let them see it, not you. And I remember watching it, I actually saw it in theaters when I was in high school. I think it came out when I was still in high school. I saw it in theaters, and not knowing at one point Lucy Lawless is in it, if you're a Xena fan, and it's really funny. It's just a stupid screwball summer teenage comedy, nothing that great, but it is still pretty funny. And just having that story and that experience of like, this is like the chosen movie of the Amish kids, so it was just kind of a funny thing. Like, I had to pick it up for a couple bucks and have her watch it for the first time. So that's it. That is 5 months worth of pickups. I know a lot of you guys on this channel are big fans of video games, and probably disappointed there weren't a lot of big video game pickups, but we haven't really gone out of our way to look at games because we are going to Too Many Games at the end of June. If you guys are going to be in the Philly area, I don't know if any of you are going to be going to Too Many Games, but we're going again this year, and this year my wife is actually going with me. Last year I just went by myself, and yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait for that. I'm really excited, so that's where we're really focusing on getting some games and having a great weekend, fun time. Let me know below if you guys have had any really cool, interesting pickups over the past 5 months, or if you're going to be at Too Many Games, let me know and I'll try and run into you. So thanks guys for watching this longer pickups video, and I promise next time it won't go quite as long before doing another one of these.